Jeffrey is more of a feminine guy, and so that means that he's a bit of a pushover. He doesn't lead. He thinks being dominant is a bad thing. He's the nice guy that all the girls say that they want, but then why don't they ever date him? Jeffrey, I know this sounds horrible, but this is the problem of listening to what a woman says she wants instead of actually looking at the man that she gets with. Adonis. Adonis is the ultimate masculine, disciplined dominance man, but he's also kind and sweet and present. He's the full package, and that makes him so irresistible to women. The difference between the normal feminine guys who are afraid to take leadership and Adonis is massive. Maybe that's why his love life has been so easy for him. I had someone text me the other day and ask me a question like, why do most men act like little girls? And I replied like, what do you mean? And she basically said like most guys are feminine, they're not in the masculine energy. And I completely agreed to the point that I said something like, oh yeah, either they are like feminine pussies or they watch me and they implement these practices that we talk about here. But the amount of guys who are in their feminine energy and repel women from like boyish immaturity, their lack of stepping up to be a leader and being dominant is insane. So in this video, I want to help you to become more of that masculine dominant version of you, which women find very attractive. This will work for you whether you have like the looks, the TikTok boy, whatever the fuck you want to, like, you know, the body, whatever. This is a part of looks maxing that no one talks about online. And it's more of like your energy, the sexual energy that you bring to the relationship, and also just how you go about your normal day. First, let's break down what's like the wrong thing. The wrong thing is taking more of a submissive position in the relationship. Let's say there's a girl that you like, and it's you basically waiting for her to ask you out. Let's say you guys go on a date. It's you walking behind her into the restaurant. And this is going to sound autistic. Someone will be watching this thinking like, oh, it's not that deep. And it's not, fair enough. But the thing is, I'm just going to be honest with you. Women really pick up on these things. They really do. So I urge you to do this action step if you've never done this before. Go sit in like a cafe and watch the couples who come in. Because one of the things I find most weird is I hardly ever see masculine guys like out in the public. I see guys who have got girlfriends, but I always see them in the sort of feminine boy mode, which is that their girl walks in first. She speaks to the waiter whilst like the guy kind of like stands behind her. That's just insane to me, honestly. Like the girl will go in, say table for two, and the guy will kind of stand behind, like playing Clash of Clans on his phone or some shit. She'll walk over to the table, decide where she wants to sit. He'll sit there. They'll look through the menu. It'll be literally the woman who says like, okay, do you know what you want? It's like the woman is in like the mommy, the authority, the dominant position. I'm not even going to call him the man. The boy is in like the sort of son energy, looking up to mommy, and mommy has to ask him like, oh, do you know what you want to order? Yes, I do. I want the ice cream. Like little like that's the energy most guys are in, right? And if you see a masculine guy with his girl, the difference is he will walk into like the restaurant first, or you know, he might open the door for her. He will speak to the waiter. Like it's almost like, I can't explain this to you how often I've had where girls who are confident girls, happy girls, they almost feel intimidated when the waiter kind of asks them a question because they're so used to me just handling everything. And you might wonder, wait, Hamza, weren't you in a relationship like a year ago and that broke up, so why should we listen to you? Yeah, of course. Bro, guess what? I was in a relationship and we broke up. That became like this thing on the internet where people were like, oh, see, so Hamza's dating advice might not work. No, of course it fucking works. I struggle with the sort of deep connection in a relationship, not getting bored, not letting like childhood trauma kind of interfere with the relationship. But in terms of attracting women, that's something that's actually easy mode for me. Like that's like the first stage, right? So we're talking about attraction. If you want to argue with like maintaining a long-term relationship, that's a skill that I haven't learned yet, but I'm teaching you the skill that I have done well with, which is like, okay, how to be attractive to a lot of girls. So you'll see the masculine guy walk in, speak to the waiter, choose like the table he wants to sit on. He sits like the woman down, he sits there, he looks through the menu, often orders for the girl, you know, the waiter speaks directly to him. Girls melt when you do this. It's, you know, if they already like you a little bit, and they will literally say like, wow, I love it when like a guy orders for me or something. Like I'm gonna let you into a woman's mind. They like turning their brain off when they're with their man. There's like a meme I've seen on Instagram, which is like the thoughts of a couple as they go through like a shopping center, and it's the girl kind of like singing in her mind, and she's like, I'm making my way downtown, you know, she's like in a happy mood, she's just singing whatever, and then it flips over to the guy and he's like, okay, so that restaurant, we've got to be there by 5 p.m. it'll take us 5 minutes. That guy's looking at us weird, I've got to make sure to keep an eye on him, like, you know, he's like so observant. Girls like being able to turn their brain off. Like they absolutely love that. You can be the guy that they can kind of submit to and just trust you. You can put them in their feminine, but only if you are in your masculine, if you are in the leadership position. What does that look like? It's like you making decisions for her. Instead of being sat around like, what do you want to do today? You tell her, get ready. I'm going to take you out somewhere nice. You tell her, okay, roughly what's the dress code? What time we're going to meet, or what time you're going to pick her up, or what time you're going to leave. And then you handle it from there. You book the reservations. Let's say you're going to go for dinner or something. Let's say it's something even simple as like going for a walk. You make the decision based on what time to meet her, where to meet her at. You don't say like, oh, what do you want to do? Do you want to hang out today? You say, hey, let's go for a walk. I'll meet you here at 7 p.m. Do you see? Like girls love to be able to just kind of relax and be like, oh, okay, he's got control of it. Most guys are not like this, and it baffles me. Honestly, like I'm always taken back because I've been like this for basically most of my life. Even when I was like a kissless little virgin, this was something that was a little bit more natural to me. Why? Because I'm fucking brown, and in brown like Muslim culture, we have like quite dominant masculine men. My dad is like a dominant masculine man. I could not imagine him walking into a restaurant behind my mum and my mum like answering the questions. Like that would blow my mind, right? I grew up with a strong patriarchal dominant Muslim father who would walk into restaurants first, speak to the waiter, order for our mother. You know, he'd ask her as well, like, oh, what are you in the mood for? She'd say the salad or whatever. You know, you don't have to like just force her to eat what you think she wants to eat. You know, he'd still ask her. But when the waiter would come, he would say what she wanted instead of her doing it. And look, there'll be some people saying, oh, well, that's not necessary, whatever. But the more of a feminine girl you want, the more masculine you have to behave. And also, I'm just gonna be honest to you, this shit's fun as well. It's just fun to like, you know, like, look, it's nice to get dressed up and to put in a lot of effort and intention. Like, it's good to be the kind of guy who plans out the day, even if it's simple in your mind. Girls appreciate that level of effort where you've already planned out where to go, what kind of energy you should display, how it's gonna work once you get there, if you're gonna order for her or whatever. Like, girls love that extra little bit of effort. I think that this is such a sweet thing that you can do. It makes you feel like the man. It makes her feel like a sweet little girl, and it builds you like this quite polarized relationship where you're really masculine, she's in her feminine. And that's what's way more attractive than this weird gray zone that most couples seem to be in. And I don't blame them, right? You can't really blame the guys who are like those sons, like the little boys who walk in behind the woman. I know I'm using the analogy a lot of like the sort of, you know, going in for dinner or something, but it's just like a good way to explain things. But most guys, they struggle with this because they've never actually seen like the dominant father figure. I found that white men particularly struggle with this. I've seen that brown and black guys seem to do this really well because we often have quite strong father figures, immigrant fathers who are used to working like 12 hours a day. But yeah, I think in white culture, European culture, UK, US, a lot of their fathers have been weakened in the last like, you know, 40 years or so. And so the guys who are like usually white skinned, who are like 20-ish years old, I found that they particularly struggle with this because there's more of a sort of like you know, like a feminist, equal rights kind of vibe in those countries, which actually makes those men a lot less attractive in terms of like their sort of personality. Like, it's actually crazy how many white girls will happily, loudly say that they don't like white guys. Because when a white girl has like, you know, traveled a little bit and she started using Instagram, whatever, and she started to experience like a bit of flirting and dating with men of other races, she realizes just how like soft the men from her country are, how feminine they are, compared to like the dominant like brown guy or the black guy who doesn't take her shit, who controls her, who's being more like masculine and upfront with his intentions. We're just getting brutal here. We need to talk about this. I didn't think we'd have this conversation, but there is like a destruction of like the European race right now. I actually do genuinely believe we're seeing like the white European culture being killed off, and it's simply utterly just because of the weakness of the men of those countries. It is absolutely insane of how the men are raised to be like, you know, like all focused on like this bullshit of equality that men and women are the same and women should be like this and no, don't talk to women like this and everything. If there's ever a kind of person who's more sexually forward and dominant, it is never the white European American guy. It is always like the brown and black guys and the Turkish guys and everything. And it's crazy of just how much you'll hear this, right? If you go traveling in the next few years, go travel around Thailand, go travel around like Bali, and specifically speak to the European girls, to the American girls, you'll hear how many of them will just shit talk white guys. Maybe that's just like the sort of niche I've found myself in because, you know, like obviously I'm not white, so girls can chat some shit about them. But I don't know, I just find that interesting, and I think a large part of this isn't the physical attractiveness, because these guys are still really physically attractive, right? But it's more of the personality, it's more of the sexual energy that has just been so repressed in these cultures, like in the West, compared to the countries where the men have had stronger, more dominant, more strict father figures. So this is exactly what you do. You start to step in more to your leader, your dominant, masculine frame. You start to ask yourself, okay, how can I be more of a leader in this situation or with the girl that you're dating? Let's say there's a girl that you like. Instead of just texting her all the time and asking her what time she wants to call you, what time she wants to meet, what she wants to do, just propose the plan. Say, hey, let's go for a date here at 7 p.m. It makes it so easy for them to just kind of relax. And I'm telling you, they're way more likely to say yes to meeting you. And then let's say on the date, you've already planned things out. You're the one kind of walking in first. You know, if you're going for like drinks or a walk or whatever it is, you're just taking a bit more of the leader position. Girls love that. And it makes you more attractive than like 95% of guys. The guys who aren't like this, they can still be really attractive, right? You know, those more like those sort of feminine guys who don't know about like masculinity and dominance and whatever. A lot of those guys are like the TikTok boys, whatever. And a lot of them are really attractive. They can still attract girls. But quickly within like a month or two, they end up losing the attraction, because girls are attracted to physical appearance, you know, how a man looks. But in a relationship, they want a guy who can take the lead. I'm just telling you. And what I've found also is interesting. Even masculine girls like this. Girls who are more masculine, who are more career focused, goal focused, they still want to be able to submit to a man whose level of masculinity usurps them. Like basically a man who's more masculine than them. Maybe you step into it, just give it a try and see what happens for the next girl. Like you're texting, you're more direct, you're more dominant, you're leading the situation. See what happens. Maybe this advice sounds kind of silly or weird or forced, but it's interesting because it is biologically right. And when you follow this advice, I guarantee you'll just get that feeling of alignment, of stepping back into who you really were supposed to be. That's how you know that this is the correct way. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.